Hello and welcome to Code Like a Pro.
This is video 2 of 10 in my Python 3 crash course.
This is a course covering the basics of Python. You can pause the video right now to view the topics that will be covered in this video. This is approximately a 2.5 hour long video series. This course is beginner friendly and can also serve as a refresher for those of you who are already experienced in Python. So without further ado, let's get started.
In Python, we use something called a function to do things. Think of a function like a machine. You give it an input, it does something, and sometimes it gives you something back. One of the first functions every programmer uses is called the print function. It simply tells Python, hey, show me this on the screen. Here's how it works. To use the print function, you have to call it. To call the print function, you type print and then open and close parentheses. Then, in quotation marks, type whatever text you want. I will type hello world. And as you can see, once I run my code, it will pop up in my terminal right here. Anything. You can print text just like you and I did, or you can also print numbers. Numbers don't have to go in parentheses. And once I print it, as you can see, the number 1 shows up in my terminal. You can also print expressions in math. For example, 2 plus 3. And when I run it, the result is 5 and it displays it. Now you try. Write 3 print statements. The first print statement should be your name. The second print statement should be your age. And the third print statement should be your favorite hobby. Pause the video and try now. And welcome back. I assume you have done the exercise. Now I will show you what you should have written to solve the exercise. The first print statement should be your name. So in my case, it would be Code Like a Pro. And remember, text always goes in quotations or you will get an error. The second one should have been your age, which is just a number, no quotations needed. And your final print statement should have been your favorite hobby, in quotations, because it is text. So it should have looked something like this. Alright, let's continue. Now that you know what print statements are, let's talk about variables. Think of variables like this. A variable is like a box with a label on it. You can store something inside it, and later you can open the box and use it. In Python, creating a variable is super simple. Here's an example. Alright, let's create a variable. A variable consists of 3 parts. The first is the variable name, or the label on the box. I'm going to call my variable my first variable. If you want to separate multiple words in your variable name, then don't use spaces because you'll get an error. Instead, it's a good practice to use underscores to separate your words in a variable. It is also a good practice to never use capital letters in your variable name for readability. Alright, the second part is the assignment operator, which is just the equal sign. This links the variable name to the value of the variable, which brings us to the third part of creating a variable, which is the value of the variable, or what's inside the box. So it can be text, a number, or an expression. I'll choose text. And I'll say this
is my first variable. And now we can use this variable whenever we like. So if we want to print this is my first variable, instead of typing out the whole thing, we can just use the variable that we created earlier, which would be my first variable. And as you can see, when I run my code, there's an error because I made a typo, so let me fix that. And now that I fixed the typo, there should not be an error when I run my code. And as you can see, this is my first variable, shows up in the terminal. Alright, new exercise. You're going to do the same thing as last time. Print your name, print your age, and print your favorite hobby. But instead of printing the text and the numbers directly, create variables and print them instead. Pause the video and try now. Alright, now let me show you what you should have done for the exercise. For the first variable, the value is your name. So you can give it any name you want. I'm gonna name my variable my name. Remember, no space, just an underscore. Equals, in quotations, code like a pro, but instead of that, you would put in your name. And for the second variable, it would be your age. So again, I'm gonna call it my age. It could have been age or a different name. Equals, and then this one is gonna be a number, no quotations. So should have been your age. Then finally, your favorite hobby. So my favorite hobby, again, doesn't have to be the exact name. And then you would put your favorite hobby in quotations. The second step is to print them. So first print statement, we are printing not the text directly, but we're printing the name of the variable. So my name. Second one should be my age. And finally, the last one should be my favorite hobby. Oh, I wrote Bobby. Alright. And once we run our code, we should have all of our information right here in the terminal. Alright, so let's move on to the next thing, which is data types. So we printed data using print statements, and we also stored data in variables. But what are the data types? For now, there's only 4 we need to know. We'll learn more as we go along throughout the series. The first data type you should know is called a string. A string is just text, like your name. A string always goes in quotation marks. The second data type is an integer. Integers are whole numbers. They can be negative, 0, or positive, but no decimals. Decimals are actually called floats. A float is just a decimal number, again, negative or positive. And finally, our fourth data type is called a Boolean. A Boolean has 2 values, true or false. And the first letter in both of those values has to be capitalized in order for it to be considered a Boolean. And it does not go in quotation marks. Data type behaves differently. For example, you can't do math on a string, but you can do math on an integer or a float. If you're ever confused with what you're working with, you can use the type function. Here's how you use it. Alright, the type function
is pretty similar to calling the print function. But instead of typing print, you would type, and then open close parentheses, and then you put in whatever you want to check the data type of. So I'm going to put in a string. And we have to remember to actually print it, or it won't show. We print the type of the string Code Like a Pro. And as you can see, it gives us class str right here. Str is short for string. You can also check the data type of the value of a variable. For example, let's go back to our variables up here. And let's try height. So if I put in the name of the variable, which is height, and then I run my code, as you can see, it gives me the value, it gives me the data type of the value, which is a float. And as you can see, the value is 5.6, which is in fact a float. You can also print multiple data types at a time. Here, let me show you what I mean. So let's call our print function, and then let's start with the print statement, like 2 plus 3 is. And I know these are integers, but you can also write them as a string. They would count as a string since they are between quotations. And now if you want to use your second data type, then you would put a comma after your second quotation, and then you would put in whatever data type you would like to put in. So let's do 5. And let's run our code. And as you can see, it prints 2 plus 3 is 5. I know we didn't put a space here, but Python automatically does that if we use the comma. If there's an option to use a plus symbol, but you cannot use the plus symbol if you're combining two different data types. You would have to convert the integer to a string. To do this, you can either put the 5 in quotations, or you can also put it in open close parentheses and then type str in front of it. And that will convert the integer 5 to a string. And then once I run my code, it says 2 plus 3 is 5. But as you can see, when I use the plus symbol to combine the two strings, it doesn't automatically put the space, which is why it's better to use the comma in most cases, because you can combine two different data types and they'll automatically put in a space for you. Alright, let's focus a bit more on numbers. Let me show you the arithmetic operators. So, the basic ones are addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Let me show you how to actually use them. So, you can put arithmetic operators like expressions inside of variables, or you can print them. For example, let me print an addition statement. Let's go with 5 plus 4. I use the addition operator to add 5 and 4. And once we run our code, it prints the number 9. Now, let's try subtracting 5 and 4. So 5 minus 4. And let's do that. And it prints 1. Because 5 minus 4 is 1. And multiplication, you would use the star symbol, which is shift 8. and then you get the star symbol, and you run your code, and as you can see, you get 5 times 4, it prints 20. And finally, division. Division is just a /. And once we run our code, we get 1.25. The last operator is the exponent operator. The exponent operator just takes the first value and multiplies it by how many times the second value is. So let me show you the symbol. The symbol is just 2 stars in a row. And now we have 5 to the power of 4. So it'll multiply 5 4 times. So 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. And once I run my code, it gives me my answer, which is 625. Arithmetic operators are really important if you want to build things like games or anything that uses logic in general. You know, this is a great opportunity for an exercise. Your next exercise will be to create 2 variables and make the values integers or floats. Then use them to calculate and print their sum, difference, product, and quotient, and remainder. Okay, here's what you should have done for the last exercise. So you should have created 2 variables. I will call one A, and you could have chosen any number, but I will pick 8. And I'll create another one called B. And again, you could have chosen any number. This time, I'll choose a float to mix things up a bit. So I will do 3.4. Perfect. Now, we have to print the sum, the difference, the product, the quotient, and the remainder of A and B. So to start, let's find the sum. Call the print function A plus B. And then call it once again. And then you put in A minus B. And now for the product, you print A star, which is shift 8, B, and print A / B. And finally, you want to print A % symbol, which is shift 5, B. And now we have these 5 print statements: A plus B, A minus B, A times B, A divided by B, and the remainder of A divided by B. So let's print our result and see what we should get. And as you can see, we get these 5 values. I'm not going to double check these, but if you would like, you can put them into a calculator or something and double check them on your own. Alright, that is all for today's video, but before you go, let's do this quick quiz to lock in what you know. As I read the question out loud, the question and the answers will be displayed on screen. I will pause for a few seconds so that you can pause the video and try and answer. Ready? Let's go. Question 1. What will this code print? A. The answer is 4 plus 3. B. The answer is 43. C. The answer is 7. Or D. It will give us an error. If you got C, then great job, because that is the correct answer. The reason is because it actually adds 4 and 3 first to give us 7, and then it prints the answer is 7. Which of the following is a valid variable name? A. My space name. B. 3 and then dogs. C. First underscore name. D. Print. And the correct answer is C. This is because variable names cannot have spaces, start with a number, or use reserved keywords in Python like print. What does the modulus operator do? A. It divides two numbers. B. Gives the remainder. C. Multiplies numbers. Or D. Rounds down. This time B is the correct answer. The modulus operator gives the remainder after division. So, for example, 10 modulus 3 equals 1. Alright, last question. What is the result of this code? A. 7, B. 10, C. 25, or D. 3? The two star symbols in a row mean it's the exponent operator. So since x is 5 and y is 2, basically this means print 5 to the power of 2. So 5 to the power of 2 is 25. So the correct answer here would be C. If you enjoyed the video, then consider liking and subscribing. And don't forget to hit the bell icon for future updates.